Hey everyone, Put ISM, welcome to part 2 of our Tamiya 124 BMW M635 video build. Before we get going today, have a little watch of this.
Make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the little bell notifications, get notified of all our latest videos, click the like button and leave a comment. I do read and reply to all the comments and appreciate everybody that takes the time to leave a comment on the channel. And of course, if you scroll up in the description, there's a link to a big long list of all the items I use in my videos. So if you see anything, you should be able to find it in there.
Back for part 2. We've got a lot to get through today. There's quite a lot of the running gear to do on this. And I took my time, painted everything as good as possible. That's my New Year's resolution, take my time. As I said in one of my other videos, my bad habit is rushing the interior and running gear, because I'm rushing to see the end product. My favourite part of the build is the bodywork. I love the painting, 2K and decaling, all that. So I find myself rushing the interior. So I made a promise to myself, slow down a little bit and let's make the best of what we can. This has got a nice detailed engine in it. For a 24 scale kit, it's not too bad at all. And we're going to make a little bit of a modification with the suspension, which involves kind of nicking bits out of another kit, which I need to replace, but we'll chat about that at the end. So yeah, let's not waffle on. There's a lot to get through. We're not going to hang around on each bit. We're just going to get in there and get it done. And we'll come back at the end and have a little chat. So here we go. Let's get at it. We're straight in with our running gear today, and something I've thought I'd address with this is the suspension. This is the road car version. It has higher suspension than the race car version. I've already built the race car version, and I tried the Alpina wheels on that, and it sat absolutely beautiful in its arches. So I have another motorsport version of this kit that we are going to steal the suspension, literally just a strut spring assembly, as you can see here, and we'll replace them at a later date. Hopefully, I think I found some from a very generous ISM member, but they're literally probably 4 or 5 mil lower, 3-4 mil maybe, but it does add to the stance of the car. And like I say, I've already tested them and they do look a lot better. So there's a difference, not a huge amount, but enough to be noticeable. So we've taken these, there's a little test fit of each part side by side, and it's literally these parts that are different, nothing else in the kit. So we're taking them from the motorsport race car version, and we're going to use them on our kit. So we're going to clean up all the running gear, engine, and interior parts in this episode, but we're going to show a few of the engine parts being cleaned up, because you don't want to sit here and see all these being sanded. So it's a case of cut them off the sprue with our Tamiya cutters, picking our weapon of choice sander-wise. In this case, we're going to use the 400 customizable cut to size to get rid of any pesky seam lines or mold lines. And then we'll hit it with our buffer to buff it back up to high shine plastic. Any rounded parts, we'll have our 220 sponge thinny stick. Exactly the same. Sand until the part is smooth, and then hit it with the buffer. Job's a good one. And then, yeah, mix and match your sanders as and where you think you need them. So we have a lot of components to assemble on this. We've got our engine block that needs gluing together. All the separate components of the engine, there's a lot of them, including these exhausts. So we've got the exhaust. I'm going to guess it's a 3-to-1 branch on each side of these exhausts. They need lining up in a particular way so that they A, fit onto the engine block itself, and B, all line up on this branch here. So it's a case of what I did, I just Tamiya extra thin them, put them roughly together, and then we put it down for 5-10 minutes, let that Tamiya glue take a hold, but leave it enough time that it's still movable. Then we'll offer it up to the engine, get them all lined up. Once they're lined up, we'll put them down, let them dry overnight, and then we come back the next day and paint them. So a little bit of faff and a little bit of messing about, but it ensured that they're all lined up correctly. So we've got all three nearly assembled now. This is the last one. So referring to instructions, make sure we get all the right parts. And they cross over in a certain pattern. 6-cylinder this, straight 6. So 6 branch exhaust, but it's a double 3-to-1 on this. So we've got 2 sections to assemble. So you see, I've got them all roughly in. We'll hit them a little bit of extra thin. We'll get them lined up, and then we'll just put them on the bench, leave them for 10 minutes, and then when we come back, we can offer them up to the engine, and it still moves around. Nowhere near as much as when you literally put the glue on, but it still allows us to move and manipulate them to the angles that we need them to all fit in place. Like I say, once we're happy with that, everything lines up, everything's straight, every connector's in its hole, we can put that to one side overnight and let it fully dry. We'll repeat that for the other 3 exhausts as well, and then it's a case of gluing the engine itself together. So some Tamiya extra thin, a little bit of pressure here and there, then we'll clamp it, and again we'll leave it overnight, and the next day we can come back, sand any seams on the transmission or anywhere that's going to be visible. But the clue with this one, or the best thing to do, is glue it, leave it alone, let it dry, and then we can come back the next day, clean it up, and get it primed. So this is my Tamiya extra thin EMA Plastic-Weld mix. So it's 50-50 Tamiya extra thin and 50-50, well, it's 50% Tamiya extra thin, 50% EMA Plastic-Weld. It's a hotter glue, so I find it helps melt the glue a bit more, but the Tamiya slows it down a bit as well. So we mounted our parts for primer. We've got some mounted by crocodile clips on sticks, some that are held in by forcing them into locating points, and some that are held on by CA glue. So again, pick how you can mount them. You're looking for a point that's not going to be prominent or interfere with any fitment, and just glue them all in, and once they're all mounted, we'll go to the spray booth. So we've got our Ultimate Black Primer. We've got our 0.35 UMP Apex, 25 PSI, and we're going to give all these parts 2 to 3 light coats. As you can see, the coverage is really good. Just make sure we've got even prime all over the place. Get all those recesses and angles all primed up. I do love our primer, it's absolutely fantastic. Also great for a black colour as well, should you wish to paint, prime and then not repaint it. And then we'll move on to all the running gear, engine components that you can see all mounted up on my U-Star mounting block. And once these are all primed, we can come in and get their base colours down. So we've got a lot of paint and prime today. I've tried to keep it short and sweet, as much as I can without showing you nothing, and then without boring the life out of you. So it's a case of, yeah, grab a brew, have a little seat, put your feet up, and have a little watch of what we're doing. So there we go. Prime them all up. Nice light thin coat to begin with. Then we can come back a little bit heavier for the second. And then just a final go over for the third. We've got the Zero Paints Textured Black. And this is probably what I'm going to do now for most of my road cars. I used to paint them the chassis the same colour as the body. But I think we're going to start using the textured paint to kind of imitate sealant. The like wax oil kind of stuff. So it adds a good effect. We've got our Tamiya LP5 pre-thinned in its bottle. It's about 70% thinner to paint, and that's Tamiya lacquer thinner with retarder. We're in our 0.35 Apex 18 PSI, and again 2 to 3 light coats on all the parts to get a nice deep semi-gloss satin black colour. It's a great paint. These lacquer paints from Tamiya are absolutely superb. Cover really well, spray well, dry ultra fast, and this LP5 is by far the best semi-gloss black. We've got Mr. Colour Red. Again, I explain this every time. It's an old red I have mixed that I don't tend to use occasionally, and on this one, but just using it on the radiator cooling fan. So a couple of nice coats on there. Same Apex, 0.35, 18 PSI. We've then got Tamiya LP8. We're going to thin this 70% thinner, 30% paint, and we're going to use the lacquer thinner retarder again. And what we're going to spray with this is our suspension shock absorbers. I toyed with all different colours, finally settled on yellow, and then on the springs I was going to go blue or red, and I thought, you know what, let's just stick to black. We don't want to be like a mishmash of colours, so 2 or 3 light coats of the yellow, we'll let that dry, mask it up the next day, and then we come with our black. So we've got our water coolant tank, and what looks like our washer bottle. So we're priming these in Tamiya white primer. I like the white primer colour. It's not a satin, it's not a matte, it's in between, and we'll leave those that colour. LP61 now, metallic grey. This is a fantastic colour to imitate steel. And it's probably going to become my go-to colour now. The AK Extremes are very good, but they take a lot longer to dry. Whereas this, you can see the amount of coverage I'm getting here just by 1 or 2 light passes. Absolutely superb. Everything's superb today. And again, same colour on the exhaust manifolds as well. Very nice steel colour. We've then got LP, I think it's 11, if I remember. No, it's not, sorry. It's LP 38 flat aluminium. I nearly forgot that then. So, nice flat aluminium colour. So, we use that on the engine block, the brakes, and it will give that nice metallic effect without being too shiny. Because I didn't want any high shine on this. As you can see, couple of light coats, coverage is absolutely phenomenal. And there we go, everything is painted up a mixture of zero paints, Tamiya LP, and they're looking great. Now, our engine block needs masking off. We need to mask the lower half off and spray it in semi-gloss black. So we're going to have to carefully mask some of this. It's a little bit tricky, but using the Tamiya 1, 2 and 3mm masking tapes, we should be all good to go. So we've got what looks like the 2mm masking tape here. We're going to fold the lines on the block and mask it off. Just having a quick look at my instructions to see where's where. Where do we need to mask? Yeah, we need to do right there. So always double check. It's so easy, and I do it all the time to mask the opposite side. So you end up masking where you need to paint. I do it all the time because I'm a bit of a prat like that. But yeah, just follow your references. If you're unsure, look at real life references of the car. But the Tamiya instructions were quite clear on this. So it's a case of some nice careful masking using this very nice tape from Tamiya. Some tweezers and a bit of patience because it is a bit time consuming and a little bit boring. But once you get the main part done, it's pretty easy to infill the rest. So we need to mask off the top of the head. And then we need to mask off the transmission as well. So it's literally the lower block of the car is going to be black. So we put the tape down, we need to reposition it, we just gently pull it up. The tape has been detacked as well, detack it on my arm. And then once we're happy we've got the actual outline mask, we can come in with a slightly thicker tape. So I think we're with the 3mm there, and then we're in with the 6mm Tamiya now. I'm just going gradually up in tape size until we're happy we've got it all covered. This is how I do it normally. Normally go small, medium, large. And again, just some careful masking. Always detack your tape. I normally detack on my arm or forehead. Anyone looks through my window, my modelling cave when I'm doing that will think I'm absolutely crazy. But it works very, very well. And there we go. There's the engine all masked up. You can see my nice new Tamiya magnifying glasses there as well. Oh, and the phone. I'm still gone. Hello. Batty Dog's Home. Jack Russell speaking. Right, suspension struts. So these were painted yellow the previous day. And we're going to mask off the actual shock absorber now. And we're going to paint the tops and bottoms black. We've also got our, what I'm guessing is the intake manifold on this. This needs a lot of careful masking because we need to leave some of it black and the rest of it silver. So we've masked off any parts we need to, and they're all ready to go. And then on the exhaust, it calls for silver chrome tailpipes. And I thought, you know what, let's try something I've not tried. Let's try a little bit of bare metal foil. So I cut a little slither to size, popped it on the end, made sure where the seam was going to be wouldn't be visible. So I put it right in the centre in the middle so you wouldn't see it from either side. And then we carefully apply it. Grab a fresh cotton bud, burnish that down, and then we can fold the edges over, close it all up, burnish it right down, and we should have a nice chrome effect tailpipe. And it did work really, really well. So happy I did this. You of course could have masked it and sprayed it in chrome, but I think this gives a bit more of a realistic look. The exhaust tips are chrome, they're not actually painted, so why not replicate it with a proper chrome metallic finish? It did look good. I was happy with the effect. You got 2 to do in total. This is the second one being burnished down. They look really good. So we need some raised lettering to be painted in silver. We could do this with a brush. I decided to use my 1mm, I think it's 1mm Molotow pen for this, and just carefully go all around all the emblems, BMW logo, and the raised detail. I did have a little bit of excess there, but that just wipes off. And what we'll do later is we'll come in and infill that with some black panel line wash later on. Now, the rocker cover, cam cover, whatever you want to call it, this calls for all the raised detail and the BMW logo to be painted in silver. Now, I did toy using the Molotow pen and decided against it. So I thought what we'll do is we'll leave it semi-gloss black. We'll mask up around the edge and spray it silver. And then you'll see what it'll do in a little bit. Rear light lenses, we've got some LP52 clear red. And we're following our instructions and very carefully painting in the light lenses. And then we'll repeat that in a minute with the LP53 clear orange. Just some careful painting with a brush. It's unthinned, it's just how it comes out of the bottle. We've shaken it up and then we use the lid inverted. Holds a nice amount of paint for brush painting. Then come in with our LP53 clear orange, and exactly the same. Let them dry a little bit in between. They do dry lightning fast. Make sure you go down to get nice even coverage, and once you're happy with it, put it to one side to dry, and obviously make sure you leave the reverse and light clear. We'll probably bare metal for the back of these, I think. We'll give them a day or two to dry, and then we'll come in like we did on the 959, and it gives a better look in my opinion. So yeah, let it dry for a minute, double check it, and then you can always come back later on and add a touch more if you wish. Front indicators now, again these are orange. So again, load your brush up, touch it to the surface, and then just move it round until you've got nice even coverage. The clear paints have always been good from Tamiya, and these are no different. Chassis, now we need to mask off the engine bay and spray at the car colour, which is Polaris Silver. So again, a nice bit of careful masking there. We don't want to destroy all our hard work with our textured black. And then some spraying. So we've got Tamiya LP5 on our engine block. UMP Apex, 0.35, 18 PSI. Couple of light coats. It's going to take a little bit more to cover the silver. Same in our suspension as well. So a couple of light coats. Once you're happy, leave them to dry overnight and we're all good. This is our second coat on our engine block. As you can see, we've got a nice depth of semi-gloss black. And then we've got rubber black, which off the top of my head is LP59. I think it's LP59. So we're just spraying all the rubber gaiters on the CV joints and the bushes, just to give it a bit of tonal difference. And again, we'll leave that to dry. And then this is LP11 now that we're using. This is just a straight Tamiya silver. And we're spraying up where we masked earlier on. So a couple of light passes, a couple of light coats. So you see, it was quite a lot of masking required. Nothing too technical, just time consuming. And then this is our cam cover, rocker cover. So this is what we're going to spray in silver. Then we'll unmask it and come back in and sort out our infill in a bit. Pulleys for all the drive belts. So we've sprayed them in semi-gloss black. We need to spray silver for the pulleys. So we use our circle template again. Find the right size, offer it up, hold it, carefully spray through. And if you don't move it, you should get a perfect circle on it. All different sizes. So once you've done one, you can move it up, down, whatever. These are very cheap tools. They're about £3-4. Any art shops would sell them. eBay, Amazon, etc. And they are an invaluable tool for doing jobs like this quickly and neatly. You could, of course, brush paint it, but this gives a far superior finish. It's just a case, line it up. Like so. Hold it with one hand and lightly spray with the other. Couple of light coats. There we go, we're all done. Right, Zero Paints Polaris Silver onto the black primer. So we're going to apply 3 or 4 light coats. We know this isn't a hot paint, so we know we can push it a little bit more. So we'll just come in with the first coat, let that flash off for 5 minutes, and then we'll add 2 more before our final 4th coat, which is this. So 4 coats later, we've got that nice deep silver colour. We can pour the rest back into the bottle. As you see, we've used hardly any of that at all. Let that dry, and now we can unmask our cam cover and see what we've got. So this is going to leave the semi-gloss black from where we did mask, sorry, and the silver where we have. Save all the other parts, unmask them carefully. We should have nice clean demarcation between the semi-gloss black and the silver. The downside to masking, it can take hours to do and literally seconds to remove. But hey, it's time well spent because it does give a much, much better finish. So there we go. Right, we've got our black Tamiya panel line wash, enamel-based wash. What we're going to do is we're going to infill all around the raised detail, the writing, the lettering, the logos, all the grooves on there. We're going to put plenty of this in there, let it dry, and then we use a cotton bud moistened with Santador odorless mineral spirits, remove all the wash off the raised detail, and that should leave us with nice silver raised detail and infilled black recessed detail. That's the plan. It's worked before, it should work on this. You do have to put plenty in there though. So of course this is the next day. You're putting an enamel wash over a lacquer paint, so there shouldn't be any reactions at all. But when you do remove the wash, don't be too over enthusiastic with your cotton bud, because it can physically remove the paint if you're not careful by literally burning it off by rubbing too fast. So just take your time, come around a couple of times, fill everything in. And then while we're at it, we can give all the engine a wash. Everything silver will get a wash. So again, just load your brush up. Make sure you give the bottle a really good shake. I also like to thin it a little bit more. So I put a little bit more mineral spirits in the bottleneck, just to get it a touch thinner. It's a little bit thick out the bottle for my liking. But on jobs like this, where you've got an engine block or detail, it adds a little bit more life and gives the part a bit more depth. So it's well worth doing. And again, back of the differential, some nice raised detail on that. And then around our brake discs and calipers, we went with gunmetal colour brake calipers. And then the reverse on the black, we've now got the grey panel liner wash. I'm doing exactly the same again, hitting all the raised and recessed areas. Once it's just dry, we'll let it dry overnight. And come back the next day, we'll remove the excess. And we should have a bit more interest to these parts. Right, so here we go. Next day, we've got our cam cover. We've got our mineral spirit soaked cotton bud. Only a little bit on there, not a lot at all. I'm just going to gently rub over the raised areas. It should leave behind our BMW logo and all that nice recessed detail in there. And there we go, that's looking pretty damn good. Not bad for a quick job, I don't think. Much better than it would have looked hand painted. So there we go, happy with that. It's looking good. We need to paint our oil filler cap black still. And then we'll go around all the engine, all the parts we put a wash on, remove the excess wash, just leaving it in the recesses. And it'll just add a bit more tonal interest and a bit more depth to the paintwork and not make it look a monotone metal colour. So you're going to use a few cotton buds. There we go. We just put a little dab of Santador on there. We dab off the excess on the tissue and just gently go around and remove all the remnants of excess wash. Time well spent in my opinion. Right, assembly. So we can start assembling the engine and then getting our running gear in place. So carefully line up these exhausts. Sorry, not the exhaust, that's the intake manifold. Carefully line that up and assemble that. We then get the cam cover on. So we're strategically placing our CA glue inside the inner edge so it doesn't squeeze out the edge. So put a generous amount on there to hold it, but you don't need loads. To be honest, it pretty well friction fits this. Anyway, put it on, give it a gentle squeeze. Then we get our sump in place, gluing it exactly the same way. We can see our engine mount system there as well. Rub our fingers, make sure we don't have any CA glue on there before we push them back on. Now we can get the exhaust on. So a couple of dabs of CA glue in the locating points, line them up, push them home. They're a little bit tricky to do. You're trying to get 3-4 holes in place in once, and the same on the back section as well. Just take your time, get them all lined up. Let the CA glue do its job. And then we can manipulate things around if we need to with some tweezers to make sure we've got them all located fully home, which we have. There we go. And now we've got our fuel. I'm assuming this is the fuel rail over the top. So again, that glue's in place. Just locate them with a couple of dabs of CA glue. And then we've got our auxiliary belts and pulleys. These only go on one way on each side. There's a reference on the right hand page of the instruction book to show you how they should be. Once you're happy, there we go. Our radiator cooling fan in front of the radiator, a little dab of CA glue, and that's in as well. And then we can mount our engine in the engine bay. So a couple of dabs of CA glue, 2 locating points. Put a generous amount on, and then line it up and maneuver it in place. And there we go. Once we're happy, we'll leave that be. Then we can start assembling the other components. So there's our washer bottle in place. What I'm assuming, I actually don't know what this part is. I was going to say coil. Did these still have a coil back then? I can't remember. They must do. But anyway, our header tanks in there. We can get our radiator in here now as well. Pop that in place. 2 nice locating points at the bottom. And there's a hose it grabs onto at the top. And there we go. There's our engine. Not bad for a 24 scale. Quite nicely detailed. Well painted, if I don't say so myself. And the wash certainly adds a little bit of depth. Need to let the glue properly dry. But yeah, quite an interesting little engine bay. Not too bad at all. Showing off those wonderful 6 cylinders that BMW are famous for. So we've got our steering hub at the front now. Excuse the blurry camera. I am zoomed in and I completely forgot where I was filming. Hence why I'm off camera a touch. But we've got our suspension struts repainted yellow and black. We've got a poly cap in there. And we're just lining up our brake discs to make sure we get them orientated the correct way. Once we're happy with that, just double check the other one. Yeah, that's the right one, is it? Let me have a look. Oh, yes, it was the right one. I had it on the wrong way. So push it fully home. Make sure it's in its locating points. Repeat for the other side. And we've got this cross member transmission bracket support, whatever you want to call it. That's glued in place and the excess glue is wiped off. Then we're on to our rear suspension components. Again, double checking we've got the right parts. Once we're happy, we can pop a bit of glue in there. This perfect pen from Loctite is very, very handy. One of my favourite CA glues. So again, make sure you get everything the right way. Pop them in place. And there we go. Line them up, have a little look. Yeah, they look about right to me. We then come in with our prop shaft, drive shaft, whatever you want to call it. I call them prop shafts. With our rear differential in place. So a couple of dabs of CA glue, one on the front and one on the back. We can pop that in place. There we go. That's that in place. We can then put our anti-roll bar in there. Just glues in place on both sides. With careful manipulation. And a couple of dabs at the front for our subframe. So just weighing it up, seeing how it fits in. It fits out at the front. There, right there. And our suspension will clip in to the side of that with a little bit of glue as well. So line it up, get both sides lined up. Make sure it pushes home fully. Then we get our suspension on one side. So careful dab of CA glue on the top. We'll pop that in place. And we'll offer up to where it's going to sit on the actual subframe itself. And we'll grab a little bit of CA glue again. Pop it on there underneath. And push this home. Make sure it's level and straight. Make sure you don't take everything off you've just done as well. Then we can repeat that for the other side. Make sure everything's lined up correctly. Once we're happy, we can pop our fuel tank in. And there we go. Happy that's in place. A couple of dabs of CA glue we can line up our exhaust. Be careful of your bare metal foil because it is easy to damage. Line up at the back. Then line it up on the exhausts we did earlier on, and they actually do line up pretty well. I was quite impressed. For an older kit, the engine and transmission is really good. The interior is a bit basic, but that's something we'll focus on in part 3. So we just grab these and line them up. They do line up really well, actually. Quite surprised just how well it did. And there we go. There's our running gear. It's looking pretty good. Happy with those chrome tips. Well then, there we are. Not too bad for a 24 scale kit. That engine's pretty decent. I'm quite happy with that. There's things that probably could have improved. There's things I'm happy how they turned out, like doing the cam cover. That was a much easier solution than hand painting it or trying to mask it all, which would have been impossible to do. So yeah, quick solutions work. Smarter, not harder, is definitely a good. It's a good saying, and it's a good way of dealing with problems as well. So next up is the interior. I have picked my interior colour. I'm not going to show you right now. I'll leave you in suspenders. It's all painted up. It's all cleaned up. It needs a bit of masking for some black trim on it. And then the carpet needs flocking as well, of which I have a whole multitude of new colours now, which I'll show you in the next video. I've actually already started filming part 3, so we're well underway. So yeah. We're getting there. Whether it's going to be 3 or 4 parts, I don't know. I think it's going to be 4 parts. I think the interior is going to take up near enough a full part. I don't know yet. There's still a lot of work to do because we've got to mask off all the chrome trim, paint that black. I was doing this like a shadow line. I test fitted the wheels with the body on. They are well and truly in those arches. They're a very, very tight fit. I might not have even needed to have lowered this. But I think it's going to look good. I think it's going to sit squat right in its arches on those beautiful 18-inch Alpina rims. And I think it's going to have been worth doing for sure. Now, what that does leave me short is 4 suspension components on my white BMW 635 race car, which I intend to do in the black JPS John Player Special scheme at a later date. So if anybody has that Jägermeister or the BMW M-Tech, it's these 2 kits. Hopefully I'm going to put the pictures up. If anyone has the 4 suspension struts spare out of those racing kits, I would be forever in your debt if you could help me. I had a very kind follower on my page off to send me from Australia, but the way the world is, the postage was ridiculous because they can't send letters, they have to send parcels. It was like 25 quid to send, so I was like, I'll have to refrain from that, I'm sorry. So yeah, if anyone can let me know, if anyone's lucky enough to have it and can help me out, it'd be massively appreciated. It really, really would. There we go then. So we'll be back in part 3, where it is Friday the 8th today. I'm getting old, I can barely see my watch without my glasses on anymore. It's Friday the 8th of Jan 2021. If you're watching in the future, hello. Yeah, so I reckon Tuesday or Wednesday next week we should have another part up, hopefully. So stay tuned, and we'll get this thing to the end of completion, and then we'll start on our next build, which, without waffling on too much, I said was going to be my Lancia 037, but I've nearly got all the bits for my 12 scale Nissan Skyline GTR R32, and I really want to get at that. So I'm kind of torn here whether to take part in a group build and do a video build or something quite a little bit different, which I've got a PSF for as well, which is the Hasegawa Lancia 037, or should I crack on with the 12 scale Skyline? I really don't know. I'm a bit torn what to do here, but I'm going to do this video today. I've got a few other things to do. I'll have a think. But like I say, we'll be up in part 3 midweek, hopefully, and we can crack on. So it's Friday. Make sure you tune in for our live show tonight. It's not 7:30. It's 7 PM UK time. We changed it, didn't we? We'll be back on Sunday as well for our less formal live show, and Wednesday next week as well. And of course, check out International Scale Model Facebook page and forum, umpretail.com. You get a lot of products I use in my videos. There's links in the description to all these down below. All the products are linked in the description as well. There's a big long list of them linked in there as well. Check out the Live at the Bench page for the live show news and the Off Air Hangout group for links to join the Off Air Hangouts. And of course, check out my Paul ISM Facebook page and Instagram page as well for all my up-to-date builds, progress, talk, news, things for sale. So yeah, follow me there. And if you're watching, make sure you subscribe, give a thumbs up, click the bell notification, and leave a comment as well. I've got a whole load of comments to chat to, but I do appreciate them all. There we go. Thanks for watching today. I will catch you all next week. So take care, everybody. Stay safe. Bye-bye.